Eighth phrase. Not those who have received your wrath, nor those who have gone astray. A concise indication of the proof contained in this phrase. Based on unanimous reports and universal certain events and observations, human history and the sacred revealed scriptures relate in clear, definite fashion how on thousands of occasions succor arrived wondrously from the unseen for the prophets, the people of the straight path, and how what they sought was given them exactly, and how on hundreds of occasions wrath and heavenly blows were visited on their enemies, the deniers. This demonstrates conclusively and unmistakably that the universe and humankind within it have a sovereign, just, generous, munificent, mighty, subjugating disposer and sustainer who in various historical incidents wondrously bestowed victory and salvation on many of the prophets such as Noah, Ibrahim, Moses, Hud, and Salih, upon whom be peace, and visited terrible heavenly calamities on numerous oppressors and deniers like the Samud, Ad, and Farah, as punishment in this world too for rebellion against the prophets. Since the time of Adam, upon whom be peace, two mighty conflicting currents have come down to us. One is that of the people of prophethood, righteousness, and belief, who following the straight path, receive the bounty of happiness in this world and the next, since they act in accordance with the true beauty, order, and perfection of the universe. They both receive the favors of the universe's owner and experience happiness in this world and the next, being the means of mankind rising to the level of the angels or higher. Through the truths of belief, they attain to a sort of paradise in this world and to bliss in the hereafter, and they cause others to win this too. As for the second current, because it deviates from the straight path and through excess and deficiency transforms the intelligence into an instrument of torture amassing pains, it casts humanity down to a degree lower than the animals. Moreover, in addition to receiving the blows of divine wrath in return for their wrongdoing in this world, due to their intelligences, they see the universe as a place of universal mourning and as the slaughterhouse of living creatures toppling over in death, and as exceedingly ugly and confused, thus causing their consciences to suffer a perpetual hell in this world and making themselves deserving of everlasting torment in the next. Thus, the verse, not those who have received your wrath, nor those who have gone astray, at the end of Surah Al-Fatiha, informs us of these two mighty currents. It is also the source, basis, and master of all the comparisons in the Risale-i Nur. Since the treatises of the Risale-i Nur expound this verse with hundreds of comparisons, we refer you to them for further explanation, and here suffice with this brief indication. Ninth phrase, Amin. An extremely brief allusion to this. The Nun in Na'budu and Nasta'in points out to us those three great congregations, particularly the congregations of those who affirm divine unity in the mosques of the world of Islam, and especially the congregations of millions performing the prayers at that time, and it places us among them and opens the way for us to receive a share of their intercession. We too, then, through the word Amin, join in the supplications of that congregation of believing worshippers, affirming what they say and offering a plea that their intercession and seeking of help will be accepted. It transforms our insignificant worship, supplications, and entreaties into universal, extensive worship, causing universal domicility to respond to it. That is to say, through the mystery of the brotherhood of belief and Islamic unity, through the bonds of unity of the congregation of millions in the mosque of the Islamic world at the time of the prayers, and by means of spiritual radios, the Amin at the end of Surah Al-Fatiha acquires universality and may become millions of Amins. Note, thus, if according to his degree, an ordinary man receives a tiny share like a date stone of the sacred truth, A perfected man who has advanced spiritually may receive a share like the palm tree. But a person who has not advanced should not intentionally recall these meanings while reciting the Fatiha, lest he impairs his sense of the divine presence. When he advances to such a station, those meanings will anyway make themselves clear to him. Note: we asked our master what was meant by intentionally in the footnotes above, and we are writing here exactly the answer we received. I consider that to dwell on the comprehensive, elevated meanings of the Fatiha and Tashahhud, not intentionally but indirectly, and not in detail, which induces a sort of heedlessness of the divine presence, but concisely and briefly dispels heedlessness and imparts a brilliance to the worship and invocations. This shows up completely the high value of the prayers, the Fatiha, and the Tashahhud. What is meant by not dwelling intentionally at the end of the second part is that sometimes to ponder over the meanings themselves in detail causes one to forget the prayers, lessening the sense of the divine presence. But I feel that to dwell on them indirectly and concisely yields great benefits. Signed in the name of the Risale-i Nur students of the third school of Joseph, Ceylan. All praise be to God, the sustainer of all the worlds. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save that which you taught us. Indeed, you are all-knowing, all-wise. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, and from Him do we seek help. Part 3 of a single lesson of the third school of Joseph. Introduction. Part 2 was written at the implied command of Surah Al-Fatiha in the 5 daily prayers, and through the effulgence of I testify that there is no God but God. Now, I have been obliged, for 3 reasons I am not at present permitted to disclose, to write this third part, prompted by the tongue of I testify that Muhammad is the messenger of God, and through the effulgence of the sublime verses at the end of Surah Al-Fath. It is He who sent His prophets with guidance and the religion of truth to proclaim it over all religion, and enough is God for a witness. Muhammad is the messenger of God, and those who are with him are strong against unbelievers, but compassionate among each other, which contain 5 miraculous predictions, referring the details, explanations, and documented proofs to the miracles of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, in Zulfikar, which is about the messengership of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, and to the Arabic Al-Hizb al-Nuri in the supreme sign, here shall be written very briefly and concisely in the second and third of 3 indications, a summary of the Hizb al-Nuri, and a sort of translation of the parts of the testimony of faith. Muhammad is the messenger of God, which I constantly use in my Arabic reflective thought, together with the affirmation of divine unity, repeating them in the tasbihat following the prayers. First indication. Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, who responded with universal worship and teaching to the manifestation of the dominicality of the universe's owner and His eternal Godhead and His infinite bounties, is as necessary for the universe as is the sun. For He is the supreme master of humankind and its greatest prophet, the glory of the world, and the one addressed by, if not for you, I would not have created the spheres. The Muhammadan reality was the reason for the world's creation and is its result and most perfect fruit. So too, truths connected with the universe, such as its true perfections and its being the enduring mirrors of an eternal beauty, is one of glory and the manifestation of His names and the works charged with duties of His wise acts and His most meaningful missives, and its bearing an everlasting world, and its producing the result of the hereafter and an abode of bliss, for which all conscious creatures yearn. These are all realized through the Muhammadan reality, upon whom be blessings and peace, and His messengership. Since this is so, the universe testifies most powerfully and decisively to His messengership. Moreover, the messengership of Muhammad upon whom be blessings and peace, and the Muhammadan reality give certain good news of eternal life, which, in order to be saved from non-existence, nothingness, eternal extinction, and absolute annihilation, foremost the world of Islam and all mankind and all conscious creatures constantly and earnestly seek with all the powers of their comprehensive natures, with the tongues of all their abilities, and with all their supplications, worship, and entreaties. They thus testify to Muhammad's, upon whom be blessings and peace, messengership, and the Muhammadan reality, endorsing that he is the pride of mankind and the most noble of creatures. Moreover, in accordance with the rule, the cause is like the doer, the equivalent of all the good works performed every day by 350 million believers being recorded in Muhammad's, upon whom be blessings and peace, book of good works, and the single person of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, attaining to a station manifesting the universal worship and effulgence of hundreds of millions of righteous worshippers, and perhaps thousands of millions, testifies in truly powerful fashion to his messengership, affirming it. Second indication. The following indicates more than 20 testimonies, which I always ponder over reflectively in the course of my invocations. Muhammad is the messenger of God, ever faithful to his promise, through the testimony of his sudden appearance with a perfect religion, Islam and Sharia, despite being unlettered, with the firmest belief, faith, and worship, the most elevated cause, supplications and prayers, the most general message, utter steadfastness, and wondrous fruitfulness, all without equal. A translation of the above and a brief exposition of its meaning are the following testimonies to the messengership of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace. The first is a proof of prophethood proceeding from 11 of his attributes and states. Yes, his appearing, despite being unlettered, suddenly and without experience with a religion which has left in amazement the learned men and philosophers of 14 centuries and has won first place among the revealed religions, is an attribute without equal. Also, unequaled is the fact that Islam, which emerged from his words, actions, and conduct, has at all times educated and trained the spirits, souls, and minds of 350 million people, taking them to spiritual advancement. Moreover, he appeared with such a Sharia that for 14 centuries it has ruled with its just laws 1/5 of mankind, leading it to material and spiritual progress. So too, that being, upon whom be blessings and peace, appeared with such a faith and creed and such strength of belief that all the people of reality have unanimously affirmed that, since they receive perpetual effulgence from it, his belief was at the highest and strongest degree. The opposition of his innumerable opponents at that time not causing him the slightest anxiety, doubt, or scruple shows too that the strength of his belief was without equal or like. He also displayed such worship of God and servitude to him that, bringing together the beginning and end of worship, imitating no one, he saw and conformed to the subtlest mysteries of worship and fulfilled them even in times of greatest disturbance. This was an incomparable attribute, as was his offering such prayers, supplications, and entreaties to his Creator that up to the present his degree has not been reached, even with the meeting of many minds. For example, in the supplication Jevshanul Kebir, taking as intercessor 1,001 divine names, he so describes and acquaints his Creator that it has no like. Thus, no one has attained to his knowledge of God. He called people to religion with such steadfastness and announced his prophethood with such boldness that although his people, his uncle, the great powers of the world, and the followers of the former religions were all opposed and hostile to him, he did not fear or hold back even a jot, but challenged them all and successfully accomplished his task. This too was an unparalleled attribute. Thus, these 8 wondrous, matchless attributes form a truly powerful testimony to his veracity and prophethood. They show too that there is complete certainty concerning his utter seriousness, trustworthiness, veracity, and truthfulness. Every day in the Teshahhud, with millions of tones, the world of Islam declares, "Peace be upon you, O Prophet, and may God's mercy and blessings be upon you." It submits to the function with which he was charged, and affirming the good news of the eternal happiness which he brought, it gratefully says, "Peace be upon you, O Prophet, in the face of the sure way leading to eternal life which mankind seeks and yearns for with an innate, profound longing, thus meeting with him in spirit and congratulating him in the name of 300 million, indeed thousands of millions." The second testimony, which comprises 20 universal testimonies as well as many others, through the testimony to his veracity of all truths of the pillars of belief. That is, the truths, realities, and veracity of the 6 pillars of belief testify decisively to Muhammad's, upon whom the blessings and peace, messengership, and veracity. For the collective personality of his life as messenger and the basis of all he claimed and the essence of his prophethood were those 6 pillars. In which case, all the evidences verifying the pillars of belief prove the truth of Muhammad's, upon whom the blessings and peace, messengership, and his veracity. The evidences for the hereafter of the other pillars of faith are set forth in the fruits of belief and the addenda of the 10th word, and all the pillars together with their proofs form a proof of his messengership. The third universal testimony, which comprises thousands of testimonies, through the testimony of his self, upon whom be blessings and peace, through his thousands of miracles, perfections, and fine morality. That is, he was a proof of himself as brilliant as the sun, through the powerful testimony to his messengership and veracity of his thousands of miracles, attainments, and perfections, and his elevated character and fine morality. Yes, as is proved in the wondrous treatise of the miracles of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, through more than 300 sound narrations in accordance with the explicit verses, and the moon split, and when you threw, it was not you who threw, it was rather God that threw. The moon splitting in two at the sign of a single finger of his hand, and water flowing forth in 5 springs from the 5 fingers of the same hand, and an entire thirsty army drinking from these, and testifying to it, and his casting a handful of dust with the same hand at an attacking enemy army, and their turning tail, and fleeing when the dust entered the eyes of all of them, and small pebbles uttering glorifications in the same hand, as though they were human, saying, "Glory be to God." Hundreds of incidents such as these, which are related in sound narrations, and some about which there are unanimous reports described in the histories and miracles, which according to exacting scholars numbered around 1,000, appearing at his hand, and according to friend and foe alike, his fine attributes and good character being of the very highest degree, and the unanimous agreement at the degree of absolute certainty of all the people of reality who have attained to spiritual perfection by following him, and reached the vision of certainty in the realities that Muhammad's, upon whom be blessings and peace, perfections and attainments were of the very highest level, and the spiritual achievements of the world of Islam, which proceeds from his religion, as well as the truths of mighty Islam, all these furnish evidence for his wondrous perfections. Note: the hero Ali, may God be pleased with him, whose courage was of the very highest order, said, "When we were frightened when fighting in battle, we used to hide behind God's messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace." The histories relate how even his enemies of that time corroborated that all his virtues were superior, the same as his courage. This surely means that this being, upon whom be blessings and peace, testified in most brilliant and universal fashion to his own messengership. The fourth testimony, which comprises numerous powerful testimonies, through the testimony of the Qur'an with all its truths and proofs. That is, the Qur'an of miraculous exposition testifies to his messengership and veracity with its innumerable truths and proofs. Yes, with all its veracious truths, the Qur'an of mighty stature, which as is proved in Zulfikar is miraculous in 40 respects, has illuminated 14 centuries and governed through its unchanging laws 1/5 of mankind, and from that time to this has challenged all those who have opposed it, and not even one of the surahs of which anyone has dared to produce the like of, and as is proved in the supreme sign, whose 6 aspects are luminous and cannot be penetrated by doubts, and whose veracity is endorsed by 6 supreme stations, which is based on 6 unshakable truths, and is eagerly and respectfully recited every moment by hundreds and millions of tongues, and is inscribed with its sacredness on the hearts of Hafizes, and from whose testimony proceeds all the testimony and belief of the world of Islam, and from whose source flow forth all the sciences of belief and of Islam, and just as it affirms all the previous revealed scriptures, so is it affirmed by them with all its truths and all its proofs of its veracity. The Qur'an of mighty stature testifies to the truthfulness and messengership of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace. The 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th universal testimonies. Through the testimony of Jawshan al-Kabir and the sacredness of its allusions, and the Risale-i Nur, and the power of its proofs, and the past, and the unanimity of its signs of a forthcoming prophet, and the future, and the confirmation of thousands of its events. That is to say, Jawshan al-Kabir, which looks both explicitly and allusively to 1,001 divine names, is a wondrous supplication that in one respect proceeds from the Qur'an, is superior to all the other invocations recited by those who advance in knowledge of God, which was brought as revelation by Gabriel during a military expedition, who said, "Cast away your armor, and in its place read this Jawshan." The truths it contains and its perfectly accurate descriptions of the sustainer testify to Muhammad's, upon whom be blessings and peace, messengership and veracity. So too, by proving rationally and logically as a single proof with its 130 parts all the truths of the messengership of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, and teaching matters which in the view of philosophy are removed from reason in the most reasonable and easy fashion as though they were before one's very eyes, the Risale-i Nur, which in one respect received effulgence from the Jawshan and was born of it, testifies in universal fashion to Muhammad's, upon whom be blessings and peace, messengership and veracity. Also, the past was a universal witness to his messengership for numerous incidents which occurred before the commencement of his prophethood, called irhasat, and wonders which were counted as miracles of the coming prophet and are related unanimously in the histories and books of biography, testify in authentic fashion to his messengership. These are of many different sorts. A part of them are described in the coming testimonies below, and others are related in the form of sound narrations in Zulfikar and in books of history. For example, close to the time of the prophets, upon whom be blessings and peace, birth, stones being rained down from the clouds of the Ababil birds on the heads of Abraha's soldiers who had come to destroy the Kaaba, and on the night of his birth, the idols in the Kaaba all toppling over, and the palace of Chosroes the Persian being destroyed, and the fire-worshipping Zoroastrians' fire being extinguished that night, which had been burning continuously for 1,000 years, and on the certain reports of Bahira the monk and Halima el-Sadiya, clothes throwing shadows around his head. Numerous events like this gave forewarning of his prophethood before its commencement. Also, there were very many events of different kinds that he predicted would occur in the future, that is, after his death. Some were prophecies about his family and companions and the conquest of Islam, which are given in the miracles of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, in Zulfikar, together with their authentic sources. Others were 80 accurate predictions, including Osman, may God be pleased with him, being martyred while reading the Qur'an, Hussein, may God be pleased with him, being martyred at Kerbala, the conquest of Syria and Iran and Istanbul, and emergence of the Abbasid dynasty, and Genghis and Hulagu defeating and destroying it, have all been described in detail on the basis of sound narrations and the books of history and the Prophet's biography. This means that numerous predictions of future events and the future, which proved Muhammad's, upon whom be blessings and peace, veracity, testify also in powerful and universal fashion to Muhammad's messengership and its veracity. The 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th testimonies. Through the testimony of Muhammad's family to his veracity through the power of their certain belief at the degree of absolute certainty, and of his companions through their perfect belief at the degree of the vision of certainty, and of the purified scholars through the power of their investigations at the degree of knowledge of certainty, and of the spiritual poles through the conformity of their illuminations and unfoldings with his messengership and its certainty. That is, of the universal testimonies to Muhammad's, upon whom be blessings and peace, truthfulness and veracity, the 9th, with their unanimous and absolutely certain belief and their unfoldings and illuminations and the extraordinary guidance they gave the Ummah and their wonder-working, the great saints of prophets, upon whom be blessings and peace, family, who, in benedictions for the prophets, upon whom be blessings and peace, are held equal to the descendants of Ibrahim, upon whom be peace, who manifested the meaning of, the scholars of my community are the equivalent of the prophets of the children of Israel, and Ali, Hassan, Hussein, and the 12 imams of the Prophet's family, and the spiritual poles and leaders like Gawsul Azam, Ahmed al-Rufai, Ahmed al-Badawi, Ibrahim al-Desuki, and Abul Hassan al-Shazali, all ratified through their belief and testimonies the messengership, veracity, and truthfulness of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace. The 10th, the companions of the Prophet, regarded as the most elevated and esteemed group after the prophets, through the light of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, came in a short time to govern with justice from east to west, despite being illiterate nomads, and becoming advanced, educated, civilized masters, teachers, diplomats, and just judges. They defeated world powers and made that century into an age of happiness. After scrutinizing every aspect of his conduct, because of the power of the many miracles they witnessed with their own eyes, they abandoned their former enmities and the ways of their forefathers, and many of them, such as Khalid ibn al-Walid and Ikrimah ibn Abu Jahl, gave up the tribalism of their fathers. Their embracing Islam in truly devoted and self-sacrificing manner, and believing in Muhammad's, upon whom be blessings and peace, veracity, and messengership at the degree of vision of certainty, forms an unshakable universal testimony.